All right, I'll first read the remote access notification pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and Governor Baker's March 15th, 2020 order concerning imposition on strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Meetings in the town of Oxford will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. We will strive to provide access to such meetings via a link to call in or other similar option. In the event we are unable to accommodate the same, despite best efforts, we will post recorded sessions of the meeting as soon as possible following the same. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings. And I'll first do a roll call. Rich Escolas, I'm present. Jeff?
I'm here.
Norman's here.
Norman's here. Dale?
Dale's here.
Okay, and Roger? He's here, okay. All right. Time being 7 o'clock, plans not requiring subdivision approval. We have none. I'll skip down to action items. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd, 2021.
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Roger. Any discussions? Okay, all those voting in favor, I vote aye. Jeff?
I vote aye.
Norman?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
And Roger?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Okay, still got some more time. Two things. One thing we got was for a wind turbine that's going to be 750 feet in the air down in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Anyone want to comment on that? Just raising the issue there. That seems like a long way up. So I guess it does belong with the FAA. So we'll leave that to them. The other item we got was 8 Town Forest Road, applicant Revolve Limited. I guess they're requesting an extension for the special permit and the site plan approval. I saw conflicting things. It looks like they were starting to clear the site as of now before the 1 year. And did that start the clock? Do we really need to even pay attention to this? Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm reading my notes here. Applicants request an extension of special permit due to COVID-19. They've been working finalizing the design of the building, securing contractors to complete construction, and all the required paperwork for financing. The recommendation to grant extension time for the special permit, whereas the way it was read that although the site plan approval appears that that is in good order, whereas they've started mobilization, they've started some initial work, but the special permit is set to expire, I believe, later this month. So recommendation would be to grant extension of time for the special permit for an additional year.
Okay, do I have a motion accordingly?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second
it.
Okay, Norman seconded. Further discussion? There being none? I vote yes. Jeffrey?
I vote yes.
Norm?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Okay, the time being 7:05, we have a public hearing for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, Chapter 6, Industrial Districts, Table 3, Use Table, to allow hotels, motels, or country inns in the industrial zoning district. I'll first read the public hearing notice. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, the Oxford Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing using the Zoom meeting application on Monday, April 12th, 2021 at 7:05 PM to consider an article on the warrant for an annual town meeting to be held on May 5th, 2021, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 6, Industrial Districts, Table 3, Use Table of the Town of Oxford zoning bylaw to allow hotels, motels, and country inns in both the light industrial and industrial zoning districts upon a grant of a special permit and site plan review by the planning board. Full copy can be reviewed at the town hall or in the land management department. Anyone desiring to be heard should join the Zoom meeting on this date. Submit written comments before the date of the hearing to the planning board. I didn't see any written comments about it. Is there anyone in the public specifically interested? I don't see that either. Why don't we let, for the public, why don't we let Tony do a synopsis of what we're trying to achieve?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the members. Good evening, everyone. If I may, I'm just going to share the screen real quick.
Okay.
Just to check, can everyone see the table here?
Yep.
Perfect. So on this table shows where hotel, motels, and country inns are allowed, either by right or by special permit. In red, which as described in the notice, we would include hotels, motels, and country inns allowed by special permit with site plan review in the light industrial and industrial districts. And in essence, that will open up a series of parcels off of, for example, the industrial area off of exit 5 and 395, some industrial parcels along that exist along Route 20, and really all light industrial parcels throughout the community, including the light industrial parcels across from IPG, and of course, the opportunity for these types of uses in our industrial parks. That's all that I have on this one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Mary, what would you like, a recommendation tonight?
Well, you'll make a recommendation once the warrant is written. So.
Okay, this is just for the public's commenting on it.
Right.
Are there any objections? And we have
Approve
nothing.
it.
So.
Approve it as written. Does that make sense?
Okay, entertain a motion to approve this warrant article as written.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Roger. Further discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor? I'll vote yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Norman?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
And Roger?
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Okay, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Roger. Any further discussion? There being none, I vote yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Norman?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
And Roger?
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Okay, time being 7:10. We have another public hearing. I'll first read the public hearing notice. Pursuant, oops, gotta make sure I got the right order here. Or did I put 10 minutes apart? Put them 10 minutes apart. I'm sorry.
Yeah. 7:50.
Okay, let's talk about 51 Brown Road.
Okay.
We might as well go to old business.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, if I may. 51 Brown Road, DPW has reviewed the as-built plans and recommends that the planning board approve. So recommendations is to approve the as-built plans, issue a certificate of completion, and recommend full occupancy to the building inspector, building commissioner.
Isn't this the one we gave a 90-day because they'd had landscaping issues still to do?
Yes.
That's what we did at the last meeting,
I think we gave him another 60-day.
60 days.
Yeah.
Is the DPW saying that it's complete?
I believe you should have a memo from DPW
Mhm.
that was sent in your packets.
Yeah, it says I have reviewed the as-built dated March 3rd, prepared by Jarvis Land Survey Incorporated, and performed an inspection of the site on April 2nd. Based upon my inspection, it's the opinion of the department, the subject site has been built to close conformance with the approved plan, and the submitted as-built plan is representative of the as-built conditions of the site. Earlier comments from Quinn Engineering's letter dated March 4th, including the finished slope embankments of with lumen seed, have been addressed by the contractor. I recommend that the board accept the as-built and consider issuance of a certificate of completion under chapter 66 and 7 of the town's bylaws. Okay, if everything was done, we have evidence here, everything is done. So entertain a motion to accept the as-built and request that the building inspector issue a certificate of occupancy.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roger made the motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Jeff. Further discussion? There being none, I vote yes. Jeff,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Norman
Same.
abstained. Okay, carried. Okay. Checking to see if there's anything else we need to address in my paperwork here. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Nope, got everything all set. Well, it's pretty close to 7:15 with no activity approaching us, so. The time being 7:15 pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, the Oxford Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing using the Zoom meeting application on Monday, April 12th, 2021 at 7:15 PM to consider an article on the warrant for the annual town meeting to be held on May 5th, 2021, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 11, motor vehicle access, parking and loading, to add a new Section 4 Village Business District parking to allow legal on-street parking spaces to be counted towards off-street parking requirements for non-residential uses in the Village Business District. A full copy of the proposed bylaw language can be reviewed in the Oxford Town Hall, the town clerk, or the land management department. Anyone desiring to be heard on this matter should join the Zoom meeting on the date and time designated or submit written comments before the date of the public hearing. And I didn't see any written correspondence. Okay, we did get, Mary sent a statement from town council, and basically town council reviewed these amendments and had one comment on the Village Business District parking. In a bullet, it says remove waiver provision due to legal validity, whereas some projects may not require planning board approval, but may require relief from the Board of Appeals, etc. So Tony, do you want to address basically, I guess, what town council is concerned about on that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to provide an overview as well, if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
I will just share my screen once again.
Okay,
Okay, and once again, just to check if everyone can see this Word document.
Yep.
Okay, great, great. So just for everyone's benefit, for the public as well, of course. So this here would be section 4, on-street parking offset. And that's to allow on-street parking spaces to count toward off-street parking requirements for non-residential uses. First, legal on-street parking spaces shall count toward parking requirements for non-residential uses if the parking spaces are located along the building lot frontage on the same side of the street. A parking space split between a property boundary may count as a full parking space for the purposes of this section. Corner lots, for corner lots, the adjoining street may be used as part of the calculation. Unmarked on-street parking spaces shall be calculated at a length of 20 feet per space, provided that there are no obstructions or impediments. Spaces shall also be 20 feet away from all curb cuts, street corners, and crosswalks. At no time may on-street handicap parking spaces be counted, and all parking spaces shall remain for public use. You may recall in the original write-up, we included a waiver provision identical to waiver provision that we also included in the cluster zoning. And by recommendation of council, whereas, and as you stated, Mr. Chairman, the question whether or not the legal validity and really boils down to jurisdiction. And what I mean by that is not necessarily all matters would go before planning board as it relates to this parking calculation, where sometimes applicant may go to the ZBA or may not require, although rare, but may not require review of a board. So in conversation, and the recommendation was that the waiver provision be eliminated. And we did just further add in here that parking spaces split between a property boundary may be counted as a full parking space. And we also added, since our last conversation, all parking spaces shall remain for public use. In an earlier version, we were also looking at bicycle parking, and that was taken out as well. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what I have for this for the Village Business District parking, and really just simplifying it down to this one section without any additional provisions.
Okay. Everyone agree with that? Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the
I'm gonna close it first.
wording as Tony just stated for the warrant article.
I'll make that motion, Rich.
Okay, Norman made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Dale seconded it. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, I'll vote yes. Norman,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, carried unanimously. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing,
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
seconded by Roger. Any further discussion? There being none, I vote yes. Jeff,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Roger.
Yes.
Carried unanimously.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, if there's
Yeah.
time,
There is some time. We've got 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I don't want to destroy the cadence of the meeting, but I'd be happy to share just a few items on the staff report.
Sure, sure.
And I will be mindful of the time, of course.
Okay.
The Master Plan Implementation Committee will be meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And our DPW director will discuss ongoing and upcoming projects. We also have a technical review meeting scheduled for tomorrow for an application for 140 or so units of housing, including market rate and affordable units. Although nothing has been filed, I will note, but the developer would anticipate submitting an application to the town in the coming months. We'll also share 722 Main Street for reference is the property adjacent abutting to the Walmart site. And third, there will be a 40B information session, and everyone is invited. We will actually have this set up as a meeting with the Board of Selectmen, scheduled for Thursday, April 29th at 6 p.m., also via Zoom. Attorney Jonathan Whitten from KP Law will discuss 40B, and that is the affordable housing. Will be focused on the affordable housing provision of 40B. And so we'll go over the permitting process, the timelines, town board roles, responsibilities, and limitations. So all members are invited to attend, and we will be sending out a Zoom invitation shortly. I'm also invited to, in addition, of course, to the public, and as I stated, Board of Selectmen and also the Zoning Board of Appeals. So again, that's Thursday, April 29th at 6 p.m. And Attorney Jonathan Whitten from KP Law, one of his specialties is exactly affordable housing 40B. Having had the opportunity to work with them in the past, I think the board staff as well as myself will learn quite a bit. And he will be doing a PowerPoint presentation and take questions during the presentation. So definitely.
Sounds like it's needed because it looks like there's growing interest in coming to Oxford with those type of projects.
Absolutely. The timing is couldn't be better, frankly. So that's all, Mr. Chairman, that I had for my report right now. As we towards the end of the night too, I guess I have one more, just a quick update on the Eastland project as well, but seeing the time now, I think we're approaching 7:25.
Yeah, we'll wait on that one. That's okay. Okay. Well, anyway, you can put me down for going to that invited to that meeting. I'd like to be privy to that,
Yes.
even though it'll most likely that we won't have much input, but at least we'll know where they're coming from. So, okay. Time being 7:25, I have a public hearing. I'll first read the public hearing notice. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Oxford Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing using the Zoom meeting application on Monday, April 12th, 2021 at 7:25 p.m. to consider an article on the warrant for the annual town meeting to be held on May 5th, 2021 to see if the town will vote to amend Article 13 cluster development to delete the current chapter in its entirety and replace it with a new chapter which implements low impact development practices, preserves more open space, and allows the planning board to waive strict compliance with the requirements of the chapter. Full copy of the proposed bylaw language can be reviewed at the town hall or in the town clerk office or the land management department. Anyone desiring to be heard on this matter should join the Zoom meeting on the date and time designated or submit written comments before the hearing. All right, I didn't receive any particular comments from anybody. Again, this one has a little issue with the, well, it has a few issues. Town council had a few issues on the cluster development. And the first bullet was limit waiver / modifications to dimensional requirements and housing type. Bullet number 2, 760 CMR 56 cited incorrectly in the bylaw. 3, the third bullet, remove obligation of conveyance to the town with respect to the permanent easement and deed restriction. See section 6.1. Bullet number 4, recommend that the town enforce zoning requirements through the zoning enforcement process, not through the enforcement of property interests. See section 6.2. And the last bullet, strike out language in section 7.2 that the town be involved in the maintenance of private property unless the land is donated to the town. The purpose of the homeowners covenant is to allow the homeowners to enforce maintenance obligations. So Tony, you want to address all those things on there?
Sure. Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman and members. I will highlight, and certainly after discussion with our council as well with respect to these changes, well noted and certainly worth highlighting. Some of the language, particularly low impact design, came from the earlier work of CMRPC, so we decided to incorporate that together. Although, as you, Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, as you read in the notes there was a series of recommendations which certainly we from KP that we, of course, we would recommend to modify to include. The waiver provision had a good conversation with our counsel with respect to that. So his interpretation of it was that the waiver provision was too broad. And ultimately, we came back in our discussion to say, ultimately, what are we trying to waive? Although a full carte blanche type of waiver provides the ultimate amount of flexibility to any board, it also can present some challenges when a board has the ability to simply waive a section, if you will, in its entirety. So the strong recommendation, which certainly accepted, is to allow for waiver. And if I may just read this here, my apologies. So to add language in addition to KP's comments that the board may waive or modify any dimensional requirement and housing type upon a finding that such a waiver or modification is consistent with the overall purpose and goals of the Oxford Master Plan. Difference here again is we're tying this to something specific. So modification and waiver can still occur, but it must be specific. And in this case, it's towards dimensional requirements and or housing type. The other reference, the CMR reference, which is in statute in our bylaw, did require to be changed, whereas the Affordable Housing Statute or the CMR 45 was incorrectly cited. It may have been 760 CMR 45 when we adopted this, perhaps back in, I think it was 94, or when we further amended in 2005. But as time, as the CMR as the code has changed, the state code, these numbers have changed as well. So this codifies it, this cleans it up, if you will.
Okay.
And just going through as well, it was noted, I remember earlier conversation about the town ownership and maintenance. So certainly the outside counsel's comments also recommend that those be incorporated. Frankly, all comments from outside counsel be incorporated. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I see nothing further. I just wanted to highlight in particular that waiver provision. So in this case, a waiver or modification would be specific to any dimensional requirement or housing type and housing type. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
So here we've got you've got the I guess the paperwork all corrected. Okay, what's on the warrant article now? Is there anything in the warrant now that will be changed on the floor? I don't want that. I find that very messy when that happens. Or is it just general at this point and we're going to incorporate the your latest copy that you've just got through town council?
Yes,
In the warrant?
yes, that will be the case. That will be
Okay.
the case.
Yeah,
And,
too many times I've seen at town meeting where, you know, what they got in the warrant isn't exactly what they want, and it becomes a real problematic procedure on how to get it fixed.
yes, no, point very well taken. And town council is also reviewing all of, as we know, all other items as well, including.
So our recommendation would be to recommend it to your latest copy of this chapter on zoning, on cluster zoning development.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else have any questions? Is there anyone from the public? You know, I just see names. But you're all muted. I don't know if anyone's here for these things. I hope you do speak up because I'm not too good at, you know, when I'm in a public room, I can see faces and that, and you can wave your hands and everything else. I can't see anything. I just want to make sure if you're here from the public and you had something you wanted to address, that we hear you. And so far, I'm not seeing anything. So if that's the case in point, I'll entertain a motion to have this new wording put into the warrant and recommend that warrant be placed on the town meeting action of May 5th. So anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make
Make
that
the
a motion.
motion.
Okay, Dale made the motion. Roger, you second?
Sure, why not?
Okay. All right. All those voting in favor, I vote yes. Jeff,
I vote yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
and Dale.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Case of point, Mary, we're gonna do the recommendations on next meeting.
I'm hoping to. I'm hoping
So
that
we can get a full list of the warrants.
Correct,
Okay, so we can make sure what's in there is what we wanted. Yeah, okay,
correct.
okay,
You need to close the public hearing.
okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that a motion.
Jeff made the motion. Anyone second?
Second.
Seconded by Roger. Okay. I vote yes. Jeff,
I vote yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
and Dale.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Very good. Time being 7:30, we have a continued public hearing. Stafford Street, map 01, parcel A, 03.01, application for special permit, site plan approval, stormwater management permit, and land disturbance permit. Applicant and owner Hydro Cutter Incorporated for construction of a self-storage facility with associated parking, site work, drainage, and stormwater management. Okay, we do have some correspondence since we opened the public hearing at last meeting. Before I turn it over to the engineer to address his change of plans, I will just place these in the record. Okay, we have one dated Monday, March 29th, 2021, from Judy Lochner of the Conservation Commission, conservation agent. She says, "Hi, Mary and Carl. I just wanted to make 2 suggestions on this project that the applicant should determine if the project is subject to the Army Corps jurisdiction and it requires authorization under the general permit for the fill. And 2, the property owner must submit an annual stormwater management system report to the town summarizing the previous year's inspection and maintenance activities. That's one. Another one is from Captain Ken Sellers, dated Friday, March 26, 2021. Emergency vehicle access for this project. It says, "Good morning all. Today on Friday, myself and Lieutenant Marcelonis from the Oxford Police Department conducted a meeting with Tom Gravel to discuss his site plan for the Stafford Street Storage Solutions, the proposed storage self-storage business located on Stafford Street. The main object of the meeting was to further discuss his access roads in and around his site regarding grade sloping downward north and south and on his property for 48 feet. The plan also shows access roads with one sweeping turn with a turning radius of 10 feet. All access roads around and between each storage unit are a width of 24 feet, all of which would provide adequate access to emergency vehicles." And that's signed by Ken Sellers. Okay, then we did get updated plans dated April 1st from Quinn Engineering. And Quinn Engineering summarized everything he has done, and I'll turn that over to Carl Holgren.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Very good. So real quick, we have a quorum, correct? Special permit?
Yes, you do. You got five out of seven. Everyone's got to be favorable.
Just wanted to
You
check.
convince us greatly.
Just wanted to check. Okay. So we last met with the board on March 22nd. As you mentioned, Tom met with the fire department on March 26th. Deputy Chief Sellers indicated in the email that emergency access is adequate. We also evaluated some test pits for the stormwater basin on March 30th. The test pits confirmed the assumptions that we made in our basin design. We submitted plans to Graves Engineering on April 2nd, and then to the board on April 5th. I haven't received an updated review memo from Graves Engineering to date, so that's still not in my inbox. But to give you a summary of the updated submission, we looked at site distance and provided an analysis and a profile looking to the east for a car coming out of the driveway. Some of the trees will have to be removed along the shoulder of Stafford Street. We'll coordinate any of that work with the tree warden. We showed the chain link fence on the plan that was requested at the last meeting. And do you mind if I share my screen?
Nope, not at all.
So I think I'm on here twice, Mary, as
Okay,
You're muted and you're not on it, but it's got your name on it.
that's the one. That's the one I want to share.
the one with your picture in it, right?
The one without the
the other
picture on it.
One without the picture.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oops. It's not a, oh, you know what, Tony, you signed in first as host, so I think you have to make him a co-host to allow him to share.
All right, let me check.
Glad you guys know the rules.
Yeah.
Well, let us see.
It does say host, Town of Oxford host, so you and Mary.
Oh, okay.
Like Mary, I think I have it. So it's the one without the picture, as I heard.
Yes,
So the one with the picture, just to confirm, Carl, it's the one that says audio, right? That's the one with the
Yeah,
picture,
yeah.
oddly.
It says Carl Holgren audio.
All
So
right.
I don't know why you'd add two there to begin with, but that's
It's
all right.
confusing. My microphone's not working on my desktop. I want to share the one that says Carl Holtzman desktop.
Sure.
Okay,
All right. You should be good to go.
there we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Yep.
Sorry about that.
It's
Okay. So here's our site.
Yep.
And
I
I'm
lost
hoping
it.
you can see it. There's a brown line that sort of goes around the site. That's our fence. Basically goes around the perimeter of our developed area. So that's new on the plan.
Okay, do you state what that fence is, Carl?
It's going to be a chain link fence.
What size?
I'm guessing 6 foot.
Well, I didn't see any note on your drawing to specify what it was.
Okay, I apologize for that. We will put that on.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. There was another question at the last meeting about signs. We're going to have a sign mounted on what we're calling the upper building. That's the one that goes perpendicular to Stafford Street. So on this building up here, there'll be a building mounted sign on that. There was a question at the last meeting about a dumpster. There's no dumpsters proposed. There's a small office that's going to be in that upper building that'll have a trash receptacle, but that trash receptacle is only for that office use. So there's no on-site trash disposal for tenants or people renting out the storage units. We also submitted a photo of the proposed building. And there's some more technical stuff, but that's sort of the gist of what we talked about at the last meeting. One other thing that we submitted was a request for a waiver, and I'm not sure a waiver is required specifically, but we submitted it anyways. And that had to do with one of the comments from Graves Engineering saying that our interior slopes in the basin has to be sloped at 3-to-1. So we've proposed 2-to-1 slopes, and we're asking the board to allow that instead of a 3-to-1 slope. And the reason for the 2-to-1 slopes is due to the physical constraints on site. So we got a couple things going on site. We've got an isolated depression located immediately downstream of our basin. So that's a depressed area. It's got no outlet. So we need to be very careful on how much water we send into that depression because there's no outlet. There's also a federal wetland associated with that depression. And the federal wetland, it's jurisdictional in the federal regulations, but not under the state regulations. And so we've worked to keep our disruption of that federal wetlands under 5,000 square feet. And 5,000 is the magic number where if you go over that, you trigger replication requirements. And if you have to do the replication, it basically makes the project unfeasible. So we want to keep our disruption under that 5,000 limit. There's also, I'm sure you guys have seen the site, on basically the back 2/3 of the site, there's topography that slopes up towards the north. And so that area is not practical for developing storage buildings, which need a relatively level space around the building. So between the isolated depression, the federal wetland, the existing topography, we're basically limited to development in the southwesterly portion of the property. So in that area is where we're proposing our site. There's a good amount of topography in there already, but we're dealing with it. We've tiered the site. We've got some slopes, but we're making it work. So given all those challenges, Tom's made an effort to have a storage unit layout that meets his needs, going to meet his client's needs, and makes the project financially feasible. So our stormwater basin has to be located on the downstream side of those storage units and buildings. And we can't construct a stormwater basin on the north side of the federal wetland, which is, if you can see my cursor, would be in this area over here. And that's because of the topography. So as a result, we're proposing it between Stafford Street and the federal wetland, which is where you see it here. So because there's an isolated depression immediately downstream of our basin, and I mentioned we have to be careful on how much water we send into that depression because there's no outlet, our stormwater basin is designed to control runoff rates and volumes. So we control the rates and the volumes. DP only requires that we attenuate the runoff rates. So because we're doing the volumes as well, we need to maximize the storage in the basin. And in order to do that, we use 2-to-1 slopes. So the comment from Graves Engineering related to 3-to-1 slopes comes from the DEP Stormwater Handbook. And I'll read you that. It says, and I'll quote it, design the side slopes of the basin to be no steeper than 3-to-1 horizontal to vertical to allow for proper vegetative stabilization, easier mowing, easier access, and better public safety. So that recommendation doesn't have to do anything with the functionality of the basin. It doesn't say a basin with a 2-to-1 slope doesn't work as good as one with 3-to-1. It just has to do with stabilization, mowing, access, and public safety. So with respect to those items, for stabilization, the side slopes are going to be grassed. and we'll stabilize them and reinforce them with erosion control fabric. I don't think stabilization is going to be an issue because I think the grass is going to grow fine. With respect to mowing, it's a private site, so the property owner is responsible for maintenance of the basin. Tom's indicated that he's comfortable mowing it or using a trimmer to maintain the slopes. DEP says you gotta cut the grass and slopes twice a year. So Tom says he's okay with that. With respect to access into the basin, we proposed a 5-to-1 sloped access from the lower driveway area, and I'll zoom into that here. So from this lower driveway area, we get a 5-to-1 slope that goes right into the bottom of the basin. So Tom can get his trimmer and his mower in there. And 5-to-1 is what DEP recommends for access to detention basins. We've also proposed another access at a 3-to-1 slope to the basin berm, just for convenience. So in this area here. And then with respect to public safety, it's a private site. It's not located on public property. And the basin is separated from the proposed driveway by the security fence. So you can see that brown line right here separates anybody using the storage buildings from the basin itself. Obviously, we don't have a fence proposed around the entire basin. We prefer not to do that. But if we have to do it, Tom's indicated he'll do it, but we'd really prefer not to. So
Can
like
I just
said,
ask you one question? How deep is that basin? What's the
that
deep?
basin is, the bottom elevation is 750, the berm elevation is 755, so 5 feet.
So it's 5 feet deep?
Yep. So for reference, my office has done basins with interior slopes on other sites. And I can, if you don't mind, I'll run through some pictures real quick. This is a basin we did in Pittsfield, Mass. It's a bioretention area. This is the same basin. You can see the grass slopes. It's sloped to 2-to-1. It's got water in it because it just rained. Same basin again. Different time of year,
I'm
actually.
not seeing it. I'm seeing the first one only. It isn't changing.
Oh, okay.
It's not moving. I got the first one. We got your first picture only. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe my internet is slow. It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
So
I saw the pictures. 5 feet isn't that bad. Okay.
yeah.
But
So
I'd like to mitigate the safety purposes
Yep.
for the DEP. Okay.
That's
Saying
what I-
3-to-1 is preferred. Okay.
And I also
And you're
think,
asking us to waiver. I don't want to waiver on safety. Okay, and I don't know what there is between the road and where people may walk on the side of the road to your basin. I don't want them to fall in.
sure. So just for context, right now, there's the edge of Stafford Street, the pavement, and then it's just basically woods and slope until you get to Tom's property, which is about 20 feet off of that. And then another 15 feet after that would be the bottom of our basin. So within the Stafford Street right-of-way, you'd have basically a level area, probably about like 15 feet wide or so at least, before you even get to the slope of the basin. So I don't think somebody walking along Stafford Street would have any reason to go anywhere near this basin, particularly because there's no sidewalk or anything like that. I don't think pedestrians are going to be anywhere near this thing, but I understand your concerns. So just in general, what we're proposing is just to use 2-to-1 slopes in the basin to maximize that storage volume so that we can attenuate the runoff rates and volumes. We think the 2-to-1 can provide the same design as a 3-to-1. Obviously, this is an important factor in our site design. So I just want to get a sense that the board is okay with what we're proposing. Because if you're not, obviously we got to change something. That's sort of my waiver discussion. If you guys have any questions on anything else as well, I'm happy to answer anything.
Hey, I've got a basin here on Ashworth Drive that they put in for condos that those slopes are 2-to-1. And that thing's 5 feet deep too. So I mean, it's, and they're taking care of it, and it isn't fenced, okay? But it isn't on the road either. Close to the road, like you have it.
I'd be more comfortable. I'm fine with the way the basin is. I'd be more comfortable with a fence around it. It doesn't even have to be that high, but even a 5-foot fence around it would be just for safety.
4-foot fence or something,
yeah.
you know?
Rich, how about if we just made him put a 4-foot fence along Stafford Street? No one's gonna go on the other side.
Yeah, I
You know what
mean,
I'm saying? It's all woods back there in the hills. So my suggestion would be, if you're worried about people coming in from Stafford Street, just put a 4-foot fence along the length of the whole, along Stafford Street.
Well, they got it along their facility. They got a fence from
Yeah.
their driveway down.
so people from the facility can't get to it.
Right.
Like I'm saying somebody's, with their little kids or whatever, they're busy putting stuff away while the kids go down to the pond.
Yeah, well, it's always safer to have something to keep them out unless you're giving kids a challenge to climb it, which 4-foot isn't a challenge to climb, but it would
It's
It
still,
sets up a
give
barrier.
smaller kids
Yeah.
the inability to get up and in there. Is this thing gonna hold water all the time?
No, it's designed to drain within 72 hours. So there shouldn't be standing water in it for extended periods of time at all. And just one more thing to mention, that isolated depression that I mentioned is literally right downstream of this basin. And that thing holds water. And that's right next to Stafford Street too.
Right.
And I think somebody walking along Stafford Street would be just likely to go in there as they would in the stormwater basin. You know what I mean? I understand your concerns, but we're trying to keep people out of something that's wet when there's one naturally occurring literally right next to it. But I understand your concerns completely.
Okay, well, you understand that it says 3-to-1 and for safety reasons,
No, I get it.
okay?
Yep.
I'm trying to look for ways for us to give you your waiver
Absolutely.
by putting a fence around it.
Yep.
So no one can accidentally fall down into a steep embankment down into it.
Rich, are you saying around the whole pond or just Stafford Street? Why go around the backside? Because no one's ever gonna go back there. You've already got a fence up on one side where the 3 buildings are, so why make them put a fence up around the whole thing if our concern is just along Stafford Street? I don't.
so
It's just for security, Norman, and to allow him to do his
Right.
2-foot, 2-to-1 slope.
I can
Okay,
see it on
they have no reason, they have no inability to put a fence around their entire project. Okay, for security reasons. I understand that, but I'm looking for a way for me to satisfy the fact they're looking for a steeper slope that the DEP doesn't even like in their handbook, and that's what Graves picked up on. And how do we mitigate that?
Yeah.
Well, we can put a fence around it so no one can inadvertently fall down into it. I don't see it as a big deal, but I'm raising it for my own concerns.
Yep.
Okay, it's like I'm putting a pool in and not putting a fence around it. Type
Right.
thing. You know what I mean? I know it. The one down the street here. In the spring, early in the spring, in February, the thing was full right up to the top. Okay, and I agree with Kyle. It did as designed. It took the wettest part of the year and it filled itself up with water. Okay, but it eventually drained down like this will do. But I'm more concerned about, and they didn't even ask us about that one. I'm not sure how that one slipped through the cracks either. I don't know how some things happen. Okay, we went through a site plan on that one. I don't know why it has steep slopes. I'm gonna tell you, they can't get in there with a lawnmower to mow it down. They got to go in there with a weed whacker. They actually have to skimmy themselves down to the bottom and then weed whack the sides. That's how steep it is. Okay, I agree that vegetation will take care of it. It will stabilize. Okay, it'll be fine in that regard. I'm just concerned about the safety aspect. And he's asking for a waiver, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not talking about 2-to-1 slopes in the back of it. I'm not talking about anything like that, but because this area is right near the street, it just helps me with the safety aspect. That's just me. I'm one member here. And your gate is right there anyway. You just run your fence from that. Your gate will still be incorporated within the bigger fence, and you just go walk into the other fence. We've had other places fenced off too. I mean, we talked recently. We did the solar power thing in off of Old Webster Road. They had to put a fence around theirs too, because it did hold water too. So got to kind of treat them like swimming pools to a certain degree.
Rich, if I may?
Yeah.
Kyle, is the, where the buildings are, is that all fenced in around the buildings?
Correct.
Okay. My only concern was when you don't have any trash receptacles at all, people tend to just throw the trash wherever it may be. And as long as all the trash that's going to be thrown on the ground and stuff like that remains in the property, I have no problem with that. You know, I don't know how the storage works and stuff like that, but you know, my concern is that, you know, the people are unwrapping things and they have no place to throw it, and if there's no receptacle, they're gonna throw it on the ground.
Gotcha.
But it's all fenced in and it's staying on the property. I don't have an issue.
Yeah, you know how people are.
Well, again, I don't have it, as long as it's all fenced in. I'd be more about the stuff blowing onto neighbors' yards and stuff like that. But again, if it's all fenced, if it's staying on the property, it's not an issue. And my recommendation would still be put some kind of trash receptacles near those buildings, but you know, as long as the stuff is staying on the property, I don't have an issue. But back to I do agree with you, Rich. I think no matter what, there should be a fence around that entire basin.
I may interject for a second. The reason why I don't want any sort of a garbage receptacle out there is I'm afraid that people are going to empty their own house.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. And again, as long as the stuff is staying on the property, I have no issue with no receptacles being on there. I'm just saying it's just people's nature. If they have a Dunkin' Donuts cup in their thing and it's empty and they have no place to throw it, then they're going to throw it on the ground. But that's not, I have no issue as long as it stays on the property.
Okay. Anyone else? How about, I guess the 9.5% grade is okay with you, Ken?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. His fire department access is well within reasonable means.
Okay. Anyone else? Are we waiting? We're still waiting for a reply from
But
third-party review with the latest plan, right?
Yes,
Mary, you haven't
Yep.
got it back.
and DPW.
And DPW.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're missing some key information at this point. I don't want to close the public hearing and not allow us to address anything that may come up.
So Rich, just to summarize here, are we gonna say, I think we gotta let them know this tonight, I would think, that the general feeling is that we'll give them the waiver as long as they put a fence around the retention pond? Is that what we're considering here?
Well, it sounds like Jeff and I are in that same frame of mind.
I have no problem giving them the waiver for that. And
Fine.
if you guys want to fence around the whole thing, I'm certainly not gonna argue with you about it. If that's important to other members of the board, I would go along with that.
Okay, what about you, Dale?
I'll go along with it too. Yeah,
Okay, Roger?
Same.
Same? Okay.
Would it be pleasing to the board if we just did it along Stafford Street to keep people off the property itself? As Carl indicated, the lower depression does hold water throughout the year off and on. There are children, the people go down, play hockey on it. It's only about a foot deep. We all know this. This depression is uphill from the lower depression. And if it's empty, there really is no reason for anybody to be there. I mean, I can put signage up all the way around, no trespassing. But put a fence all the way around, like one of the other members had mentioned on the backside, it's kind of a moot point. And to be honest, because of the steel prices have gone through the roof, this additional fence all the way around is going to cost several $1,000s. I have a quote on my desk in my office just to go around the 4 buildings with a gate is nearly $38,000 for a 6-foot high chain link fence.
Wow. Jeez.
Yes, I was rather shell shocked myself and that wasn't the most expensive. I had one, it was at $48,000. And I reached out to 11 different companies within a 40-minute driving radius.
Would a vinyl fence be cheaper? I'm just throwing this out.
I'd have to check it, but I'm looking for longevity.
Yeah, okay.
You know, vinyl fence, if it's cold and a tree hits it, it'll break.
Yeah.
Someone can easily throw something at it.
I mean, we always go with chain link, but
Right. No, I understand and I appreciate that thought process.
Yeah, we're not looking for, it doesn't have to be pretty, I guess. I mean, you know, I don't know if even chicken wire or something like that, or it doesn't have to be, we're looking for some kind of deterrent.
I wanted to look respectable because
Yeah,
the last meeting, there was a woman who had a question about her well. Her house is directly across the street from where this is going to be. So I know myself, I wouldn't want to look at chicken wire or
Yeah.
something that wasn't pleasing, you know. I mean, I'll be happy to, well, what if I did this? What if we did this basin and I planted some trees along the Stafford Street to, so it wouldn't be noticeable, draw attention, and people are more, let's face it, the people today are lazy. They don't want to walk through some trees. They want to walk around. And you can't walk around the backside because it's in the middle of the woods.
but it looks to me that's gonna be a nicer place to play hockey than where they're playing hockey now. Like,
Well, it's
No, it's
gonna-
small. It's not
gonna
that
hold
big.
water.
I
I
gotta
see
say.
that, yeah.
It's not designed to hold water. So it's,
No.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I want to get safety off the table here because that kind of is the motivation that these standards are written for. I mean, you do one side. I don't know.
Well, again, you do one side that looks with the chain link fence, you can put whatever else, whichever cheaper on the back side of it, but it's still, you need something.
what if you put some shrubs on the back side and a chain link fence on the front side?
Maybe. Yeah, if you put arborvitaes right next to each other or something like that, that makes as good of fence as anything too.
My experience with those aren't longevity either. You get a nice ice storm and half of those are gone.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion
Sure.
that we get some input from DPW regarding the waiver request and fencing or security?
Mary, has Judy looked at this? Has Conservation looked at this?
Yeah, I wrote a thing on there. She was
Oh.
concerned about the maintenance and
What's this about the Army Corps of Engineers or something?
yeah, she says if the project is subject to the Army Corps jurisdiction,
Well, they would have to
that's
tell us.
Calt's trying to avoid the jurisdiction, I take it.
Right.
You know?
So something like that, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what he's trying to avoid. So he
But
doesn't
he
want to
still-
really go see them because with the red tape involved there, we'll see you next year at this time sometime.
Is
Couple
she
years,
okay with the
right.
2-to-1 slope? Is Judy okay with the 2-to-1 slope?
I don't know if Judy's aware of the 2-to-1 slope
don't
because
think
she
she
may
is.
not have reviewed. Did you say she is, Carl?
No, it's Tony. I don't think she
Oh.
is.
Oh, okay.
So why don't we do a combination of, Mary, your suggestion is call DPW, get their input and get Judy's input. They're the experts in this.
So the only thing with that is I would just say that, like I said before, the DP recommendation comes from the 4 items: stabilization, mowing, access, and public safety. So as long as they're just evaluating with respect to those things, that's fine. The slopes don't affect the functionality of the basin itself.
And there's no other place on this property that that basin can go and function properly? I'm
So it's
looking-
got to be on the low side of the buildings and driveways. And what we're trying to do is make
I was looking in the
make the
back
project
corner there.
feasible for Tom. So it's
Yeah,
either on this side of the wetland or the other side of the wetland, and the other side's got a big hill on it.
yeah.
So who's got the issue with the 3-to-1 slope then? Graves?
So it's a
Graves
recommendation.
is the one that
from the
mentioned
DP
it didn't
handbook.
meet DEP standards.
Yep.
That isn't the only place there are 2-to-1. I assume
I've
all
seen
the
it in other-
grades all the way around the property are 2-to-1, right?
Exactly. So 2-to-1 is not, it's not a
But the
crazy
other ones,
slope.
instead of going down, they're going up
Right,
2-to-1.
yeah.
I don't see a problem with the 2-to-1, Rich. The problem seems to be the fence. How much, we're gonna make them fence the whole thing in, or we're gonna make them fence just Stafford Street? We're gonna do Stafford Street. Can we go with a 3-foot fence? Would that reduce the cost and take care of what we want? I'm just throwing these ideas out. I mean, you know, I could see an issue maybe just along Stafford Street. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here. But
Again, I'd be fine with some kind of barrier in the back half of it, but I don't know what kind of barrier, whether it's a, you know,
Hmm.
and again, you want it to aesthetically look okay too. I understand that.
Excuse me, Carl, how
Just
long?
to reiterate what Carl was saying, there is no sidewalk there, and we're approximately 50 feet from the asphalt inward onto my property. So again, this is going to be elevated above the asphalt. What those dimensions are, I can't read the print up close and personal here, but I know it's elevated above the asphalt and in somewhere between 40 and 50 feet. There really is no reason for anybody to be there. I do respect your concern about the safety. I would be more concerned about those playing hockey on in the depression in the wintertime, where that is a known fact to hold water for a few months. You know, this here is designed to drain the water and not hold it. So I understand your concern about the safety, but I'm not so sure there's a big concern of someone drowning if that's where your thought process may be going. Charles did his math, and this is to drain the water to recharge the earth around it. Seems to look like it'll function well, but to add just a guess, it's probably going to cost me somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 just to do around that basin for something that's designed not to hold water. There's only one house down the hill that has a couple of children, and I've seen them playing in the lower depression, and it's they're supervised with adults, and it's not my land. So I understand your concerns, but this would put a huge financial burden in addition to my current project, which will have to be done in phases for something that we don't believe is going to hold water.
well, these aren't made to hold water, right? These are made to hold it for a short time and let it. In other words, this would probably never get full to 5 feet, right?
No, Carl said it should hold it for 72 hours at best.
I mean, that's, again, I'm not an expert on this, and that's all we're depending on what other people have to say, but I know we had the one up next to Walmart. There was an issue there, but that never maybe had a foot of water in it, so I don't, I really, I don't know.
Hey, Rich, can I interject for a moment?
Yeah, yeah.
So as far as the safety goes, I don't know when the last time you guys traveled Stafford Street or not. There's not a lot of foot traffic on Stafford Street. It's kind of a back road into Worcester or into Leicester or whatnot. What is the tree line? Is it, well, first off, is there guardrails abutting this location?
No, there's no guardrails, Captain. Or
There's no guardrails. Okay, so what is the tree line from the end of the roadway to the retention pond?
But they said about 50 feet.
it's about 15 feet, 20 feet wide.
Is it heavy tree line?
It's like a deciduous, like, I don't know, not huge trees, but it's wooded.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I'd be more concerned with a car rodent going in that ditch than anybody going into the play. And a chain link fence isn't gonna stop that.
No, she was asking me what.
I don't. It doesn't hold water.
What do you have any new ones? And she responds to every email.
And it's raised above the ground, the roadway. I don't.
Sorry,
Like I said,
this actually goes down from the pavement elevation. So it's
I'm like, yes, you do. I remember.
probably going to be about 5-6 feet lower than the pavement elevation, but it's off the road.
Okay. I mean,
okay.
if it's that far into the
We have 3 of those.
public safety side point, I'm not overly concerned with somebody venturing in there on foot.
Yeah, Karen Holloway-ish. I mean, I've been the lady from
It's my 2 cents. Not that it matters, but
Ohio, that Maryland, that's kind of weird. Oh yeah, she's been back and forth.
Okay, Ken, thanks for your input, but again, I'm concerned that we are being asked to waive steeper surfaces. Okay, and I'd like a little mediation. So if you want me to concede, I'll concede that potentially. I know a lot of people don't walk that road, and there's a good reason for that. They'd probably be killed if they did. Okay, it's the Oxford section of Stafford Street is too narrow. Okay, Charlton has opened it up, and Charlton, a lot of traffic comes from Charlton into Oxford, and then down Mill Street, and then crosses Cummins Road and goes down West Street. So it's a major thoroughfare now for Charlton residents. In my mind, you're either going to mitigate safety or you're not. Okay, putting a fence on one side doesn't do anything for the other 3 sides. It is going to hold water at times. When it rains a lot, it's going to hold water. Okay, in the wintertime, I told you the one in my street's empty a lot of the time, but when it does fill up, it fills up to the top, and it's about 5 or 6 feet, just like this one. That one doesn't have 2-to-1 on the top leading down into it from the edge of the property either. It's off the beaten path quite a bit. I don't know. Let's get the input from DPW and Judy. I mean, you're asking us for the waiver. I want something that guarantees some safety to mitigate the safety aspect of that 3-to-1. The other stuff, I agree with you. You can grow grass. If you can't, you're going to have an erosion problem that you're going to be dealing with all the time. But I see the one out here near me is well vegetated. So it's more or less the materials you use to get the vegetation. If you try to do it over rock and clay, it won't happen. Okay, you're going to need a good amount of loom to get this stuff to really dig in there and root up real good, so. Sounds like we need to get some input, and we need to get the third-party review again, and I'm sure they're gonna put on there that it's still a 2-to-1, and according to it'll be up to the planning board. That's the way they're gonna put it. So, it's the way
So
third-party
just-
will put it, so.
Just for my information, and for Tom's information, in general, 2-to-1 slope isn't at question here. It's more the fence, correct?
It's because of the 2-to-1 that I think the fence should be there.
No,
That's
I
my,
understand that. But let's say we put a fence around it, it'd be fine, right?
Yep.
Okay,
that's where I'm coming from.
That's
Okay.
what
I think most of these board members are coming from.
I just
Norm would let you
wanted to-
get away with the fence along Stafford Street, okay?
That's fine.
My
as long as
opinion,
we-
if you're gonna put it that far, you might as well wrap it around, because it's not that big of a depression.
Yep, as long as we can plan on the 2-to-1 slope, we'll cross the fence thing at a different time. That's fine.
Well, we'll still ask him anyway, because we're gonna have to wait, because we don't have third-party review. You're not gonna get any approval tonight.
No, I know. But thank you for the discussion. I think this has been very productive for our part.
Anyone else? No?
Hey, Rich?
Yeah.
Well, my mic was off. If
What?
they were gonna go, my wife, I've been talking here, my mic's been off.
Oh,
If they were going with a 3-to-1 slope, would we still make them put up a fence? I guess
No.
that's my question.
I wouldn't.
All right. Thank you.
I mean, they got 2-to-1 inside. It's within their property. It's fenced, okay? They got 2-to-1 on the backside of this.
Yep.
Basically, it's a steep slope coming down anyway. They just keeping it steep going into their fence, okay? It's not for trespassers or anyone else. I'm not really that concerned. I was concerned mainly because it's right on the road. Yeah, there is some buffer there, but it's still right on the road. I just thought it was to get safety off of our waiver request. That wasn't the reason for it. The reason for it's because of his design. Okay, he's trying to work within the topography that he has.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to April. Mary, where are you? I don't even see you.
26.
I'll make that a motion.
The 20, is it the 26th
The 26th, yes.
at,
Let's go to 7:15 or 7:10, because we have a public hearing scheduled for 7:05.
okay, 7:10.
Okay.
Entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to 7:10 on April 26th, 2021.
I'll make that motion, Rich.
Okay, Norman made the motion. Is a second?
Second.
Second by Roger. Further discussion? There being none, I vote yes. Norman?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
And Dale? You're muted, Dale. Okay. He waved. Yeah, he waved. Okay, he's all set too. All right, we'll get some feedback. We'll get the review of third party. If you want to go with the fence, get a revised plan to him quickly. So we can base his, review on that, if that's the only change you make on there, whatever. Okay,
Okay, very good. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. What do we got left? Did I hit everything? I'm lost in paperwork again. It happens every time.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the planning board staff report, I went over the 3 items, but if it's okay with you, I just want to provide a quick update on Eastland.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So I did receive I did receive an update from Chad Boardman from Eastland, and I will also be following up tomorrow morning with respect to the blasting. There was, as noted here, the second blast was performed at 190 Southbridge Street, and as discussed originally, as it reads here, our intention was to start out towards the back portion of the property, and that they are in coordination with the fire department with respect to the blasting. I will follow up just to ensure that notice was properly sent to everyone.
Don't get me wrong, they're further away this time than when they blasted last time. They blasted some additional ledge further into the Ashworth Reserve property. Okay,
Okay.
not the commercial property.
Okay,
But I will say, I don't know what you're allowing them to blast beyond this commercial property in front, because it looks like they go in a good 50 to 60 feet beyond the property line that I know of. So,
sure. I will get that information from Chad and verify with the fire department the actual scope. He does note here, though, that they will continue to perform blasting over the next few weeks, and typically twice a week. And then they will start processing the rock in the next few weeks. But he did note if there are any complaints with respect to anything on site, including the blasting, that he will certainly follow up. Again, this is Chad Boardman, and also happy to follow up in person with the board as well. But as I said, I will reach out to him tomorrow morning to get more details. And we'll also note, DPW director and I walked the site 2 weeks ago, and DPW has required additional erosion control measures and in place, as well as additional safety fencing around the erosion control areas. So that all appears to, during our walkthrough 2 weeks ago, that all of the measures required by DPW was done. And we will be meeting, I'm looking at my calendar now, sometime, I believe in the next week or two as well, just as a regular site visit follow-up. As I said, I will follow up with Chad and fire, and I will get more information to the board.
Tony, even if you give him my email, so at least if he can email me when it's happening, because like I said, I went all up and down my house looking to find out what the hell happened. The only time I ever heard noise like that before was when roof slides off my slate roof, when the snow falls off, I should say, the slate roof, the whole house shakes. And that's what happened to my house. It kind of shook, and you could hear like the sonic bang, So I didn't know what it was. I mean,
So
I just went there. The guys there know I went there. I asked them, "Did you guys blast?" And they said, "Yeah." Okay, and that's fine. That's okay. I guess I found out what the reason was for that noise. Other than that, I wouldn't know.
Currently blasting under a permit. They are following Massachusetts regulations. I asked them to use extra seismographs. They agreed. Most job sites only use 2 seismographs. They're using anywhere between 3 and 4. They are doing everything that they are required by Massachusetts regulations to do. So I know that they notified abutters. Rich, I don't know why you didn't get notified. I don't know
what the law is. Again, Ken, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I'm just saying before they blasted internal to the parcel next to me. So maybe that's why they put a seismograph at the end of my road, and they let me know via notices that they were going to blast. They even had a do not blast on Ashworth Drive going into the property. This time there's nothing up this end at all, nothing at all. But it could be because they're blasting right down there.
They're a ways away from Ashland Drive, Ashworth Road. They're a long way. you're not walking from Ashworth Drive to get to that blasting site. It's a long walk.
Oh,
I
yeah,
drove
it is. Ken, I'm probably saying that's probably why I didn't get a seismograph this time or a notice. But I felt it. My wife felt it. We both felt it. Okay. We knew something happened.
I'm
Okay,
not,
that's
I'm
all.
not feel it. I'm not disagreeing with you. You probably did feel an earth tremor. There's no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is that the blasting company, and I'm not defending the blasting company, because if they screw up, I'm going to be the guy taking their permit away. And they know that. So I'm just letting you know that as of right now, the two blasts that they have done everything according to their permit in mass regulation.
Okay.
So
I just like
I
to
don't-
know. I just like to know so we know what's going on, because we did feel it.
not doing my due diligence. They know, and I've been there. I've been to that job site 4 times in the last 2 weeks. So I mean, they're blasting to make a road.
Yep.
And they're blasting an area that they had already started blasting 3 blasters ago. You know, they're just picking up pieces. So, but that, you know, I will certainly call the drilling company tomorrow and ask for their seismograph readings.
Sounds like they're having a blast up there, Ken. Hey, Rich, I got one thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of an update, and Tony mentioned it a few times about the master plan. I was running through the plan last week, looking at how much we've accomplished, and I'm not patting the planning board on its back, but we've done an awful lot of the things that required us, primarily in zoning changes and other things. Believe it or not, we've been into this for 5 years. And with the things that Tony's proposing tonight, though 2 of them in particular are directly related to request on the master plan, which is having, you know, more lenient and less parking restrictions on our downtown area, which we hope will attract more businesses. So we're pretty much at the point where we've done pretty much what we need to do as a planning board. Now, there are other issues that haven't been solved, but I think we're well on our way to completing at least what the planning board needs to do, pretty much complete. I think there's 1 or 2 other things, and we'll be pretty much done. So again, I think we've done a good job on staying on top of these things and meeting the requests, at least from the planning board's point of achieving the goals that we wanted to achieve. So and it's getting better now with Tony. He's got a couple of things he's working on that'll finish this up.
Okay, thanks, Norman.
Yep.
Anyone
With
else?
that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to go home?
I was a little slow. I was a little slow.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Jeff? Norman?
Yes.
Roger?
Yep.
And Dale?
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Everybody.
Be well.